Before we talk about possibly one of the worst spec fails of the year, maybe the last 2 years, lots of money potentially lost here. We'll get to that. We need to chat about the loss of one of the biggest, most influential comic book creators, the comic historian, our friend, Benny Potter.
This has been such a huge blow to the comic book community. Benny has touched so many lives, and it's evident with the outpour of love that he's receiving online right now. We were fortunate enough to befriend Benny just a couple of years ago and do some live streams. He will truly be missed. I really can't believe that he's gone.
This one really sucks. We became friends, I would say, more in the last 6 months than in the last few years since the first time I met him. And I did meet him through your channel, Jem. You know, we did do some content together, but we got like really drunk together at Emerald City Comic Con this past year, and we chatted about comics and content. And I'd say of like any of our homies, this guy, he really cared about his community more than anybody that I've ever met. It's all he talked about is how to serve his audience and how he could entertain them in new and innovative ways. And it just is a reminder to not take these friendships for granted, and that it's got to be something that you need to prioritize. Don't delay these types of things. It was so sudden that we lost him, and I regret that I didn't begin this friendship a long time ago, because he was such a cool person, and I was really excited about getting to know him more and more. Let's get into the video. The hottest comic books in the world. Hit the subscribe button. We've been making this video for over 4 years straight without skipping a beat, broadcasting from somewhere on Spaceship Earth with the leader of the Gempire. Gem-Mint Collectibles, how you feeling?
To be honest, not good. I finally got on board with the whole Taylor Swift is going to be Dazzler in Deadpool and Wolverine, and we just got confirmation that she will not be in the movie. So not only will she not be playing Dazzler, she will not be playing Lady Deadpool. She won't even be in the movie at all. And after connecting all the dots, she's at the games with Ryan Reynolds and Sean Levy. We've got the Dazzler statue coming out from Sideshow. Marvel is pushing her solo series and promoting it like she's a world star singer. And then she's not in the movie.
Or are they lying to us? They've done it before. Hit the like button. We need your support. And let's talk about number 10 on the list, because it's ranking so low, but the interest is so high that I can't help but add this to my hunt list this year. ASM 129, the first appearance of Frank Castle, the first appearance of The Punisher.
All right, spoiler alert. Uncanny X-Men 130 is not on the list, and I don't see it ever making the Hot 10 list again unless it makes it due to the sheer number of sales due to people dumping it. But Amazing Spider-Man 129 is more of a safe bet. People are always going to want this key issue regardless on what's going on in the outside world.
Speaking of which, we have the current Marvel slate, and I think post-Deadpool Wolverine, Daredevil Born Again is probably the most exciting, most anticipated thing over the next year. We saw what that just did to the only Marvel movie coming out, Deadpool Wolverine. Will it happen again? For a major Bronze Age key that people love?
We've got Deadpool and Wolverine coming out in just a few weeks. Then we've got Agatha All Along, September 18th. Your Friendly Neighborhood Spider-Man is an animated prequel that's set between Civil War and Homecoming. That's coming out later this year, November 2nd. Marvel Zombies is later this year. Eyes of Wakanda, Captain America Brave New Worlds on February 14th, Valentine's Day. And then we have Daredevil Born Again, March 2025.
People are going to go and see Deadpool Wolverine, an R-rated film. It's going to serve the older collectors and the older fan base. People are going to love it. They're going to be hungry for more mature titles. And then we get to look forward to Agatha All Along. No. I think what's going to end up happening is that between now and Daredevil Born Again, the most hype is going to start to climb towards the end of the year, waiting for Charlie Cox to reprise his role, waiting for John Bernthal. And it's making this Bronze Age key a great potential to grab, especially when you look at what it's going for right now.
The CGC 4.0 just came in at $939. That's right above its 12-month average, but 3 copies outperformed that average this week. The 7.0 is up 3%, the 7.5 is up 10%, and then both the 8.0 and the 8.5 are up 2%, with the highest sale in 8.5 coming in at $2,300.
A lot of books from this era major keys have taken some huge hits in the last couple of years. But let's take a look at the census. Only 6 new 9.8 since we chatted about this book last 3 months ago. The last GPA sale was $21,000, while the 12-month average is just above $25,000. Yeah, it's down, but it's not down that much. Let's take a look at the 9.6. 11 new copies in the last 3 months. The 12-month average is $7,500. The last sale, June of this year, $6,700. It's barely moved.
John Bernthal reprising his role. We've already heard leaks and saw set footage of the R-rated stuff that's going to be going down in this show. So to Tom's point, it's number 10 on the list now, but I wouldn't be surprised if this started creeping up closer towards that show's release.
This is one of the most important Bronze Age keys on Amazing Spider-Man nonetheless, and there is a nice lull in between now and Daredevil Born Again, and the prices are looking stellar. Keep an eye out on ASM 129. I know I will be. And the best way to keep up on all comic stuff is downloading Key Collector Comics, the best comic app in existence. Utilize code TOM101 to unlock a free 2-week subscription, support the show, and get access to everything we're talking about before we even hit the mic.
Now, you just heard me list off the upcoming slate of movies and shows coming out. Key Collector has a category specifically for that, so if you're looking to spec on any of the books related to those shows, make sure to check out those categories.
Let's go back to 1968 with number 9 on the list with Silver Surfer number 1, the first appearance of Shatilov.
It's also the origin of the Watchers and Silver Surfer, and it's his first ongoing series. Now, we haven't had a high-grade sale of this book since the Shatilov announcement that she's going to be the Silver Surfer on screen during Fantastic Four, but we do have a slew of mid-grade sales to report on.
The 3.5 clocked in its year-high sale selling for $506, an increase of 39%. The 4.5 selling for its 12-month average at $450. The 5.0 is up 4%, the 6.5 15%, and the 7.5 also clocked in its year-high sale selling for $1,900. But Jem, based off of how this book is currently performing, I think it's on an uptick trajectory.
So we spoke about this book about 2 months ago, and since then there have been 94 slabs added to the census. But remember how I said no high-grade sales since the announcement? Well, out of those 94 slabs, only one is a 9.0, and that's the highest graded copy.
And when we say no high-grade sales, we mean specifically 9.4 and above. The 9.8 hasn't seen a sale since 2016. There's only 10 copies that exist. The 9.6 hasn't seen a sale since June 2023. And when it sold for upwards of $20,000 less than its all-time high that was set a year prior. The 9.4 last sold in November 2023, and it sold for just above the 12-month average, selling for $10,200. But then we have the 9.2. Last selling in April of this year, post the announcement of Shatilov, and we have a sale clocking in at $5,020. The 12-month average is $5,200. That right there is drastically close. It's above the 12-month average, making me believe that if we see a 9.4 or above, that book is going to raise the floor, thus making all lower grades a great bet.
I don't know how much I buy that Shatilov is going to be the Silver Surfer in the upcoming Fantastic Four film. I still think we're going to get Norrin Radd. Maybe they're going to incorporate her somehow. Maybe she gets the power cosmic. Maybe they'll show it off in this Silver Surfer special presentation that's being rumored. Something similar to like the Guardians of the Galaxy holiday special we got.
The leak is saying that the special presentation may come out prior to the Fantastic Four movie, which I find very surprising. It feels like that should be something that would come out after the release of the first Marvel family in live action. But that's not the only leak circulating this past week. We are now getting some of the first commentary about the Fantastic Four movie, and this is what the leaker had to say. The Fantastic Four are going to be key players in the multiverse saga and in Secret Wars. The film will also be a pivotal addition to the MCU, and it's going to showcase just how dangerous our multiverse can get.
I find it interesting that they're stressing how dangerous the multiverse can get. The last time we had a large level threat was when Thanos snapped away half of the universe. I'm excited to see what they do in July of next year.
First appearance of Darth Vader, Princess Leia, Luke Skywalker, R2-D2, C3PO. We have the first Star Wars comic book to discuss from 1977 at the list at number 8, Star Wars number 1.
Now, this is before Acolyte Episode 3 has come out, and I'm not a Star Wars fan, so I kind of just watched that community from the outside, and they seem to be pissed off with this show, which I think is actually good for people that want this key issue comic.
I haven't watched this show just yet, and my opinion on Star Wars is worthless because I've never really been a huge fan. I was more of a Trekkie growing up. But I will say, 100 years prior to The Phantom Menace, I mean, this is lore that we've never seen adapted to the screen, which has me intrigued. This is when the Jedi were in full control, and we have a murder mystery taking place. wow, the census count is freaking exploding.
Yeah, 420 new Slavs on the census since we talked about this book on March 25th. Now, that includes 52 9.4s, 60 9.6s, and 55 9.8s. This book is from 1977. Where the f are all these new books coming from?
For real, though, I don't think that's going to be the only time that Gem Mint says that this video. But it's worth mentioning because the 12-month average has been around $3,500. The last GPA sale for a 9.8 is $36. So although the book is a little up, it's looking like this book may have some major lulls, considering that this is probably going to be the peak until the next big Star Wars something.
Yeah, and if The Acolyte is truly turning fans away from the franchise, collectors who want to get this book might be able to scoop it up for cheaper than ever. But taking a look at this week's sales, we got a 9.4 that sold for just under $600. That's up 12% over its 12-month average. The 9.6 up 3%. The 9.8 up 2%. Tom just mentioned it sold for $3,600. So stable for now, but interested to see where it goes next week.
There are 4 other sales that we didn't report on. Key collector for those, but I will tell you that 2 9.6s as well as 2 9.8s outperformed the recent 12-month average this past week. Are you hunting for Star Wars 1 right now? Do you think members in the Comic Fam should wait a little bit? Do you think it could come down in price? Help them out by commenting down below what you think about that. What do you think about The Acolyte? No spoilers, and let's chat about number 7 on the list with Uncanny X-Men 266, the first full appearance of Gambit.
Second appearance in comic books, first cover appearance of the Ragin' Cajun. Now, we just got some news that X-23 and Gambit will be more than just cameos in Deadpool and Wolverine, which kind of bodes against the fact that Daphne Keane said she wasn't going to be in the movie.
Indeed, as well as that Channing Tatum was going to make a brief cameo appearance, and I think that's what Deadpool Wolverine's going to be all about. A lot of cameos, and that's going to spike a lot of books, sure, but the ones that are going to have the longevity are the big keys that are beloved, like X-Men 266, and the characters that get that portrayal that lasts longer than, like, I don't know, as long as Brad Pitt was in Deadpool.
Was he in Deadpool?
Exactly. Looking at the list, 9.2 sold for $190, up 13%. 3 copies outperformed the recent 12-month average. The 9.4 sold for $255, an increase of 34%, marking the year-high sale. And 5 copies outsold the 12-month average. The 9.6 sold for $281, an increase of 16%. And wait for it, 7 copies outsold that 12-month average. I still think there's like lingering love from the X-Men 97 animation that's pushing this book up to new grounds, but that Deadpool news is only helping this comic.
No, I was just going to say, if it wasn't for X-Men 97, I don't know that we would see this on the list or as high just based off the potential cameo or small role that they'll have in Deadpool and Wolverine. But I think most Gambit fans like myself definitely want to see him in live action, done the right way this time.
The last time we talked about this book was 3 weeks ago, 21 days. And in those 21 days, 26 new 9.8s have been added to the census. That's over 1 new 9.8 a day.
Speaking of Deadpool and Wolverine, this has got to be one of the best mystery mail call boxes that you've had. I mean, that issue alone is selling for more than what the entire box is going for.
Indeed, secure your Deadpool, Wolverine, World War III, Ivan Tao trade dress because it's 1 per box. And the box is only $34.99. And that's not the only thing we're packing in there. Outside of having a chance at keys and supporting the show, by the way, we're also putting in 1 of either copy of Ghost Spider #1 by Greg Horn. Half our members are going to get a Virgin variant that's also worth box price alone. So between the Ghost Spider and Wolverine Deadpool, you could be doubling up.
You guys got 24 hours to get on this box. Don't say I didn't warn you. And speaking of doubling up, number 6 on the list, we're going back to X-Men with issue 58. This is the first appearance of Havoc in costume.
We do have some comic book news about Havoc. I mean, he's teaming up courtesy of Mark Russell with Angel, putting together the X Factor to go up against the emerging factions of Mutant Underground and X-Term. But I think the spec is largely happening right now because of the ending of X-Men 97, setting us up courtesy of Forge's Wall of Mutants featuring Havoc for Season 2.
The X-Men 97 hype is real. Now, the Havoc first appearance has always been tough because he first appeared as Alex Summers in X-Men 54, which is the origin of Angel, and then he gets his first costume appearance, his first appearance as Havoc in this issue. The 5.5 is up 3%. The 6.0 hit a year-high sale at $206, which is 20% above average. The 7.0 is up 15%. The 7.5 also had a year-high sale, coming in at $293 for a 19% increase. And then we have the CGC 9.0 selling for $785, up 39%.
Let's keep it going with more X-Men love with Uncanny X-Men issue number 94, the start of the Chris Claremont run and the second appearance of the new team, debuting in 1975 and saving the title from cancellation. The 3.0 had its year high selling at $290. The 5.0's up 13%, 7.5 1%. 8.0 just marked its year high sale selling for $11.50 for an increase of 32%. The 8.5 is up 14%. That was also a year high sale selling for just above that 8.0. $11,075. And then the 9.2 sold for $19.52, an increase of 7%. This book is looking better by the day, Jem. I think it's possibly hit its floor.
The poor man's giant size X-Men #1, I mean, that is a huge key issue, but this one is important as well. Like you said, it's the start of the Chris Claremont run. You have the first new team in title and kind of a low-key going under the radar book with everybody focused towards GSX1. Definitely a good pickup.
And take a look at this. The reason why I think that this book is nearing its floor is because of how many sales that are happening, showing that speculators, investors, and collectors are feeling more confident in throwing big money down on a book that has had some volatility. But the 9.0 in June clocked in a $1,440 sale, which was within $20 of its 12-month average. The 9.2 in May of this year clocked in a sale above its 12-month average, selling for $1,900. The 9.4 within $400 of its 12-month average, sold for $2,800 this past April.
The high grades are sticking around their 12-month average as well. The 9.6 is about $300 off based on its last GPA sale. And the 9.8, the last GPA sale clocked in at $37,200, which is just about $600 shy of its 12-month average. Still a far cry from where it sold during the comic boom, upwards of $72,000.
But seldomly do we see this many grades all hover around what it's been going for over 12 months.
The census count has increased by 31 copies since we talked about this book just last week, but in high grade, you're looking at 3 in 9.0 and 9.2, only 2 copies in 9.4, and only 1 new 9.6 and 9.8. But if you want to talk about census count going crazy, we got to talk about the next book on the list, issue number 4 with Marvel Superheroes Secret Wars 8.
Yo, Jem, remember how I told a bunch of people that Wolverine 1 and New Mutants 98 is looking terrible? Well, officially, we have a third book to add to the list, The Origin of the Black Costume. Let's just actually go over the sales first, and then we'll blow their freaking minds with these numbers. The 9.0 sold for $200, an increase of 8%. The Newsy 9.2 up 2%, selling for $225. The 9.4 is up 21%. The 9.6, 4%. And a Newsstand 9.6 sold for $550. That was a year high, an increase of 39%. Yes, Secret Wars is in the distance. Yes, this is a major Spider-Man key, but holy hell, take a look at the census count. Since we've chatted about this book last, which was 3 months ago, there's been an increase of 212 9.8s. That's above 2 9.8s a day, every day, for 3 months.
875 more copies on the census, and this book is from 1984. It's officially 40 years old. Where the f*** are all these new copies coming from?
Everybody loves this book. This is a must for every PC. And when you look at the 12-month average for a 9.8, it's hovering around the $600 marker. The last time a 9.8 sold was June of this year, and it went for $460. This uptick is steadily climbing in copies being added to the census. I do not know where they're coming from, Jem, but what I do know is for the first time in a long time, Secret Wars 8 could be a sub $400 book in 9.8, and I did not see that coming.
Yeah, I don't know if the demand's going to keep up with the supply of all these new books, but I do have a feeling the reason why we're seeing this book on the list is the same reason why ASM 252 is number 3 on the list. We just got a trailer for the 3rd Venom movie.
I haven't actually heard your opinion about this trailer. Oh, how bad does this movie look, dude? I mean, I thought this wasn't even an official trailer upon first watching.
It looked like a fan-made trailer that were taking clips from the first 2 movies. First of all, I didn't even realize they were making a 3rd Venom movie. It's called The Last Dance. It's like the same name as the Michael Jordan documentary. The only saving grace on this trailer, which is for a movie that I don't even know what is about, is that symbiote horse.
Now, we will get to some interesting census count numbers here in a second, but I'll preface it by stating that this book is looking extremely attractive, especially when you compare its counterpart, which is really Secret Wars 8, which debuted way after the first appearance of the black suit in Amazing Spider-Man in issue 252.
Yeah, I mean, out of the two symbiote keys, this was always the one to get, as it is the first time you see it in comic books. The 9.2 sold for $250. That's a year-high sale and 17% above its average. The 9.4 is up 3%. The newsstand 9.4 is up 2%. The 9.6 is also up 2%. And the newsstand 9.6 is selling for what it's been going for all year, $425. And then we've got the Canadian price variant, CGC 9.6, which sold for $720 for an increase of 9%.
We haven't chatted about this book in a year since it ranked on the Hot 10 last. And since then, there's been an increase of 157 copies in 9.8, which is a lot of copies. It's an average of 13 a month. But when you compare it to Secret Wars 8, which is clocking in more than 70 copies a month, if you're shopping for key black suit comics and you're putting money down now, as clearly many members are, I would save it and put it into ASM 252 officially.
Yeah, I like how you even said that to me before we recorded this. If you're going to buy the Secret Wars 8, you might as well just save up for a little bit and get the 252. Moving on to number 2 on the list. You guys know we couldn't have a Hot 10 this year without New Mutants 98.
New Mutants 98, as we gear up to Deadpool Wolverine. This book, we have been telling people over and over again to cool it. You're paying way too much. We have talked about some 9.8s exceeding $1,500, and it really shouldn't. You should be patient on this. I officially think you should wait till after the movie. What do you think, Jem?
100%. I think I've said this a couple of times since we've been reporting on New Mutants 98. If you really want this book, just wait a couple of months. This is the hottest it's going to be for quite some time, and we could prove it with the sales.
The 9.4 is up 37%, going for $580. The 9.6 up 19%. The 9.8 sold for $1,525 this week. That's up 10%. And then a newsstand 9.8 sold for $2,800 for an increase of 7%. And there's 6 other sales that we could have reported on. This book is selling in high quantity.
But remember, we told you guys, don't spend $1,700. Don't even spend $1,500. The last recorded GPA sale in a CGC 9.8 came in at $1,100, and we're at the height of the hype. So imagine what it's going to go for a month after the movie, 2-3 months after the movie comes out.
Yeah, and the census count has not stopped trucking. In 7 days, there's 17 new 9.8s having been added to the census, on top of all the quantities from the prior week and the prior week and the prior week. This book is becoming more available and going down in price. This could be a sub-$1,000 9.8 in 2 months.
Now, in the beginning of the video, we talked about Taylor Swift, how it's been confirmed that she will not be in the movie. Again, meaning no Dazzler and not Lady Deadpool, who we just did get a tease of for the first time in trailer. We got Lady Deadpool's leg. Now, here's some interesting facts about Lady Deadpool. 2 years ago, Rob Liefeld revealed that back in 2010, he based the look of the unmasked Lady Deadpool on Blake Lively. He and his wife were big fans of Gossip Girls, which Lively starred in. You got to check out his IG post to see what he was talking about.
None other than Ryan Reynolds' wife, which was also kind of part of the spec play. Will Lady Deadpool show up in the movie? Will Dazzler? Will Taylor Swift portray either of them? Are we only going to get one of them? And if so, will Blake Lively actually be the pick to don the Deadpool suit? Rather, Lady Deadpool's suit. It looks like we're getting Lady Deadpool, and it doesn't look like we're getting Taylor Swift anything. Let us know your thoughts in the comment section below, because at this point, it seems like you were wrong, Jem, but we could both be wrong, and they could be lying to us. They've done it before. Hit the like, slap the subscribe button, and let's hit him with the #1 hottest book in the world. And hot damn, he's back.
That's right, Wolverine won in his first solo series, the Frank Miller cover, which has donned this list maybe more than Uncanny X-Men 130. We had to fact check that. But back on the list, and I think it's going to go even crazier after the Wolverine Hot Toys that just released today while we were recording.
We see the most accurate depiction of what we are likely to see in movie, and if we get this, I am so stoked. It's awesome to see a Hugh Jackman rendition in the classic costume, and sleeveless nonetheless.
Sun's out, guns out, baby. The CGC 9.2 newsstand sold for $255, a year-high sale, placing it 34% above average. The direct 9.4 is up 29%, the 9.6 up 15%, and the newsstand 9.8 sold for $1,377, an increase of 10%.
The Newsstand 5.0 had a record-breaking sale. We haven't seen it since 2022 where it sold for $100. It's up 5%, selling for $105. There's been 16 copies added to the census in the last 2 weeks in 9/8 alone. The last GPA sale clocked in under $700, and there has been a monster climb in census count on this book in particular. I also think that this is one that you need to wait on. I think this could be a sub $500, maybe $400 book because this book has gone up hundreds in 9.8 alone, not to mention the 9.9s.
Hold on, Tom. About 8 months ago, didn't you say this book could be a $1,000 book in a 9.8?
Who would have seen this drastic change in census count? I mean, a year ago, it felt like that. Like this book seemed, based off the numbers, that it was going to hold strong. And I bet it would have. I bet that would have for New Mutants 98 as well. But CGC offering pre-screened 9.9s and 10.0s, creating the very first giant-size X-Men graded at a 9.9 in the last year. Where are these books coming from? And did you expect this, Jem?
No, definitely not. I was with you. It seemed to be that's where that book was heading towards. A $1,000 book in a 9.8. It definitely deserves it. But with this increase of census count, the supply more than meeting the demand, there's no way it could have kept up with that. And I want to know what you guys think in the comments down below. What's going to happen with Wolverine 1 post the movie? What's going to happen with Uncanny X-Men 130 now that it's confirmed that Taylor Swift won't be in it? Or are they lying?
These may be some long-term spec plays, and keep an eye out on the lulls. As the supply goes up, we may see some adjustments to these books that are unprecedented. They're already beginning, and you may be glad that you picked them up while they're low. We appreciate your time today, as always.
Geek responsibly and stay minty fresh.
Enough said.